looking at victory and freedom is finally coming. Little did they know, the same day the attacks, Israel started retaliating. And the bombs have been flowing and moving from Israel to Gaza uncountable times. To an extent, recently the most devastating one is Israeli bombing a hospital that took away the lives of at least 500 civilians. This is the situation at the ground. But again, before we proceed with the show, kindly let's hear Jamia Mosque's position on the matter. Aban.
Nimesimama kwa niaba ya kamati ya msikiti wa Jamia kwa sababu ya yale ambayo yanawapata ndugu zetu Gaza. Tunajua kuanzia Jumapili usiku na mchana, hata hivi tuko hapa, ndege za Israeli zina bombu, na lugha inayotumika ni finish them, wamalize. Wanawaita human animals, hayawanat, wanawaita wanyama, na tunaona vile wanavyofanyia. Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam ametuambia katika hadithi niliyoisoma, mfano wa waumini kama kweli sisi ni muuminin ni mfano wa mwili mmoja. Kiungo kimoja kikiuma, mwili mzima utakosa usingizi na utapatwa na maradhi. Jiulize wewe, siku ya kiyama tukiulizwa na Mwenyezi Mungu, ndugu zetu wanapochinjwa na kuuawa, tulifanya nini? Unatoka hapa unaenda nyumbani, unakula, unalala. Jiulize, ndugu zetu wanalala, wanakula. Na kadhia ya Palestina sio kadhia ya Waarabu, ni kadhia yetu. Kumbuka Al-Quds ndio kibla cha kwanza cha Waislamu. Kwa hivyo tunawatangazia, tunachukua mchango kama Jamia kuwafikishia ndugu zetu Gaza. Kuna namba pay bill namba 1150770 150. Hiyo sadaka tunaambiwa saa hizi toa 150,770. Jina la account Gaza. Hiyo sadaka tunaambiwa today, skip your lunch today, reduce the food you're going to take to your children. Can we stand in solidarity with our brothers? Just like the enemies are standing with their brothers, can we stand up with our brothers? Siku ya kiyama sijui tutaambia Mwenyezi Mungu nini. Kwa hivyo nafaka tunaambiwa hapa tutoeni. Na siku ya Jumapili hapa Jamia, viongozi wa Kiislamu watakutana na watu wengine wanaojali haki za binadamu. Kuja tutatoa press statement hapa kuhusu msimamo wetu. Wale waliotoa msimamo hapa Kenya wakasema tunaunga mkono Israel, hiyo ni yao, it's not on our behalf. Wale wanaita wa Palestina ma terrorists, hiyo ni yao, sio yetu. Sisi tunaona ni ndugu zetu wanapigania haki yao, wanajikomboa. Kama vile hapa Maumau hatuwezi kusema walikuwa ni terrorist. People fighting for their rights, we cannot call them terrorists. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni lugha yao. Lugha yetu ni kuwa tunasimama na ndugu zetu wa Palestine kupigania haki zao za ardhi yao. Wao ni madhulumin.
Thanks so much, Aban Sheheme, for that, and clearly that tells the position of Jamia Mosque. Mind you, this statement was made on 11th of October, on a Wednesday, after Dhuhr prayer right here in Jamia Masjid, after Dhuhr prayer. And in studio tonight, I'm joined by Leo Mutisia, Abdullah Kassim, and Salim Mahmoud. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us this evening so that we try and debunk this information. It is a topic that has roused emotions, that people have clearly drawn the lines. It's like you're either on that side or on this side. It's you versus us. It's them versus us. And most of the people that have made decision, of course, it's based on the information that they've received from different quarters, be it mainstream media, digital media, and all that, right? And this tells the impact of propaganda in a war. Leo Mutisia, you're a communication expert and the manager at research at Media Council of Kenya, right? Maybe you can just tell us now the impact that misinformation and disinformation has had, not just on this war, but again, how important is it in any other war setup?
Yeah, thank you so much. Like you said, I work at the Media Council of Kenya, and at the Media Council of Kenya, we value what we call media ethics a lot. And media ethics means that we need to be very objective in what we report, how we report, and also have integrity. Issues do with accountability, so the information that we are sharing out there to the people is, you know, factually correct. And if you look at what is happening on the issue of Israel, Gaza, and Palestine, is the things, it's this total propaganda that is taking place. Of course, it's being led by mostly the superpowers. And also then there is the danger of major TV stations, major media houses falling into the trap, because you are unable to confirm what is happening on the ground. Then it means that it's possible that you're going to be spreading a lot of this propaganda, which is propagated by people that we trust, military leaders, people from maybe White House, before they confirm. Remember the issue of the children at the beheading, that the president nearly accepted that it was the truth. And then
he accepted, I mean, he went out and said that he saw pictures.
Yes,
right.
And we're seeing a lot of that still being treated by our, you know, local main media organizations, media houses. Before they confirm, they have been tweeting all this all week for a number of days, and then finally it's confirmed, and you cannot withdraw that. Therefore, the impact is in the people, the masses. They are taking decisions based on information that is not truthful. They are taking decisions on information that is not substantiated, and there is a danger in that. We've seen demonstrations from across the globe. Some people demonstrating, majorly from a point of misinformation, but also from a point of empathy and sympathizing with the people who are being bombed in Gaza, since most of those people are civilians. How do you differentiate, you know, a militant and you know, a civilian for that matter? The other thing that I would like to say is that most of this information is what has been propagated as Gaza misinformation is coming from India. I don't know whether you've seen these articles. There is research by Al Jazeera, which is very thoroughly done. If you look from internet, from X, from Facebook, from TikTok, most of it is coming from India. And there are question marks. Why from India? Why not from, you know, countries in Europe? Why not from Israel and all that? So probably we are going to have this conversation more as we go.
Definitely, as we continue. My brother, Sheikh Abdullah Kassim, I mean, you are... you've been an expert, a diplomat. You've been moving around those circles, you know, interacting with people from various globe. And then as we have said, that a lot of misinformation and disinformation, like information that clearly has a bad motive that would directly or inspire or motivate or move someone to take a stance on something. And needless to mention that we have seen the powerful West taking side with Israel, which has also influenced a number of people in Africa especially to come out and actually take position. Maybe sometimes some of them siding with Israel, and people all over the world, like India, the way Mutisa said, and many other parts of the world, right? So what is the missing link? Do you think they are falling for this misinformation and disinformation deliberately so as to whip emotions on their side? Do you think they know it, or do you think it's a genuine mistake?
It's not a genuine mistake. I mean, as you know, the West has been standing with Israel for the longest time, since it was created. You will recall that Israel was actually supposed to be created somewhere in Africa. Kenya, in Kenya. Say. So I don't think today Kenyans or Ugandans will be pretty happy to have a colonizer sitting with them, taking their land, killing them, butchering them every day, and then telling a lie about them every single day. So this is pre-planned. And the West, as you talk about it, it's not the people per se. Like if you speak, I've interacted with many colleagues in my 17 years working with the United Nations. I've interacted with colleagues from all over the world. The people from the West, the citizens are not happy with what's happening in Israel, in Palestine. But it is the capitals where the decisions are being made. It is with the politician, it is with Joe Biden, it is with the current PM of Britain. It is with Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah.
They're the people who are fueling the fight. And they're the people who are helping Israel to propagate the propaganda. And you know, unfortunately, people for a long time have been thinking this is a religious war. And you can see Blinken going to Israel recently. He's saying that this is a religious war. They want to whip emotions. Yeah, that's why I say it's deliberate. They want the Christians to be extremely disappointed and annoyed with the Muslims, so that we have a religious war.
Which is, of course, yeah, we're going to debunk that information.
Yes, so
of course,
it is not. So the truth is, this is not about a Muslim who is a Palestinian or a Christian who is a Palestinian fighting an Israeli who is a Jew. These people are fighting about their land. And I'm happy, if you look around today, you watch CNN or BBC today, people are, demonstrating in the streets in London. They're doing the same in the US, in the Capitol Hill. They're telling the politician, the decision maker, that we as a people, whether we are Christians or Muslims or Jew or whatever you want to call us, we are tired of this war and propaganda. We want to see peace. And we want to see the Israelis, the Jew, and the Palestinians living side by side in peace. So this information which is there, which we know about, is propagated by the people who know what they're doing. The media knows what they want to achieve with this. The politician like Blinken knew what he was doing by saying in Israel that this is a religious war. You are trying to tell the Christian Europe that you are under attack by the Muslim. Today, as I speak with you, I have seen a lot of this in X. I still call it Twitter.
Yeah, formerly Twitter. Because it's Twitter.
People are saying
relatable.
That you see, these people are coming to our land. They want to take over Europe. You know, the Muslims who are bombed in Somalia, who are bombed in Iraq, who ran to get refuge in Europe, in London or in France. Now they are saying, these people are coming here to take over our land. Those people have not gone there to take over their land. They have only come to seek refuge. Just like they can come to us if probably tomorrow Europe is having crisis. Will we say that these people have come here to take our land?
Scotland has offered the refugees from Palestine. I mean, they've opened their borders, opened their doors.
The haters are not listening. The haters are not happy. The racists want them out. And listen, we Africans, sometimes I get shocked when an African leader or a president says that I sympathize with Israel. Did we know that the British was here for as long as 100 years? They colonized us? I mean, the majority of leaders today who are talking, they didn't experience colonization, colonialism, if you like. They don't know what it means. I'm happy that the South Africans who got independence in 1984 or something?
1994.
94.
Just the other day.
They understand, and that's why today they're still standing with the Palestinians, because they know what it means to be under occupation.
Nelson Madiba Mandela said that we will not fully be free until Palestine is free.
So Africans must know this is not a religious war. It is not a war between me and Mutiso. It is a war between evil and right.
Interesting. Thanks so much. Salim, still on the issue of misinformation and disinformation. My brother, you post a lot, particularly on Twitter, every day. Yesterday, you came out guns blazing against Potter's Joe Biden, saying this is a war criminal, 100%. Where do you get this information? I mean, whatever you're posting, whatever information you're consuming, and then you're tweeting, where is your source? What is your source? Where are you getting the information from?
First of all, Faisal, thank you for once again inviting me in your show. First of all, before I think we started this show, we should differentiate between misinformation and disinformation. Yeah. Because what is going on now is disinformation. Because misinformation is where you spread false and inaccurate information without an ulterior objective or intention. But when it comes to disinformation, you want to spread this false information, inaccurate information, with a very heavy tone of propaganda, with a clear objective, with a clear intention. And intention can be political or even in many other forms. So when you see Joe Biden supporting Israeli, purporting to create the notion that Israeli government is a victim in this whole issue of Israeli-Palestinian dispute, which has been there for more than 70 years.
Yes, 75 years.
Yes. So when you want to say when he wants to portray that they are victims, then he's trying to show the world that he is supporting what they are doing. For example, the issue of apartheid. That is, these are people who are controlling people in their own land. You know, for example, ask yourself, is Gaza in Israel? No. Then how comes Israeli have all kind of influence in Gaza? They can cut off electricity, they can cut off water, they can bomb mercilessly the way they want, you know. So when Joe Biden brings sympathizes with Israel, he has a clear objective. One, to get support from their allies, the Western countries. And now it's not even the citizens, like you said, it is now the policymakers, the politicians in this issue. So, and the secondary objective is now to get support in terms of military support and financial support. That is why, despite USA giving having specific annual budget, special budget for Israel every year to support them in terms of security, now he went ahead and now proposing now to the Congress to give like a supplementary, in Kenya we say supplementary budget, you know. So when he starts with this issue of Hamas, Israelis are the victims, children have been beheaded, you know, by Hamas, you know, the objective is to reach somewhere now to get sympathy from now the Western countries, and the good thing, it has backfired on them. You have seen many citizens, Christians, Jews, in Athens, in UK, in Spain, even a Spanish minister who was unequivocally very loud about how they want to cut tie with Israel, because these are people who are contravening all kind of international law, international humanitarian law, international compliance with the UN Security Council, many UN Security Council resolutions, you know, the law of wars, you know, all kind of, even in terms of issues of when it comes to issues of denying people water, bombing hospitals, bombing religious institutions, religious areas, you know, all these things. So these are the objective now is, like I've said, is so it's
clearly disinformation.
Disinformation.
So disinformation coming at the policy level, coming with ulterior motives, and when it's cascaded down, it can clearly metamorphosize to become misinformation.
Misinformation
when it comes to people.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that's what we are here to debunk, some of these things.
Yes.
And you've preempted a very important topic. I mean, because even this morning somebody asked me, and wanasema nao Hamas walifikiria nini kwanza hii vita? Hamas walifikiria nini kwanza hii vita, right? So basically the tag here is that Israel is defending itself against whatever Palestinians or Hamas started. So Israel is defending itself. Okay, I'm just going to start with you again, right? So this notion that Israel is defending itself against the Hamas, what's your take on that?
First of all, this is another disinformation. This is a clear propaganda. You know, I will give you a clear example. For example, now there are Al-Shabaab in Lamu. You know, they are doing all these kind of things. Will it be justifiable now for KDF, with support of UN mission and other things, other entities, military entities, to now bomb Lamu just because there are Shababs there? You know, so first of all, if you even go to history books and confirm when was Hamas formed and when did Israel started occupying Palestine, you know, a good example is in West Bank. West Bank is not even in control of Hamas, but every day people are killed. There are Israeli militias who have been fully armed, fully funded by the Israeli government. You know, they're killing innocent women, children, the elderly, everyone who is just anyone who is, even Arabs with Israeli passports, you know. So it's not even about Hamas. before even Hamas attacked now on 7th, on a Saturday, ask yourself, how were the 2.2 plus million citizens in Gaza living? You know, in a clear blockade, you know, being controlled by an external, controlled by an external entity. It's like an occupier. It's not like an occupier. It's an occupier. It's a colonizer. You know. So when you say you want to defend yourself against Hamas and you kill more than the people you are killing, more than 3,000 people, more than a third are children. You know. You bomb just a residential area. You know, all these kind of what do you call actions that they are taking is a clear disinformation that they want to tell the people that we are fighting Hamas. When you kill all those 3,000 plus people who have been killed, there is no one who has been found with military gears, who is armed completely to say that this is one of the militants, Hamas militants, you know. But if you see children, women, elderly, disabled, you know, everyone, including even domestic animals, you will see cats, goats, and all these kind of things. So when they are saying they are fighting Hamas, this is a propaganda. Hamas was just formed less than 20 years ago. But the discrimination which has been going on, the brutality, the massacre, and the colonialism which has been perpetrated by Israel has been there more than 75 years, with clear support of the Western countries in terms of funding, in terms of, apart from funding the military aspect, the military infrastructure, in supporting their apartheidism or colonialism, they are funding heavily the issue of the media, propaganda. And that is one of their heavy weapons that they are using. Look at CNN, look at BBC, you know, look at Sky News. They are openly
biased. It's all skewed towards one direction, but again,
I think when it started, there was, you know, carte blanche propagation of propaganda by CNN and all those other channels. But I think over time they're now realizing, and with also Biden saying that America also made a mistake in attacking Iraq, and that rage, and at the end of the day they are regretting some of the things that they committed. So also these institutions are now realizing, okay guys, we need to slow down, we need to start fact-checking, we need to start substantiating some of this information, we need to stop depending on the military, the Israeli military. We need to get somebody who can speak truthfully to issues, because everybody has an issue, every side, Hamas, you know, the Palestinians and the Israelites and all those things and all that. But the biggest question is, how then do you fact check in a war situation? A hospital is bombed. Israeli runs and says that it's the Hamas, who have done this.
Yes.
They were trying to launch a rocket that misfired.
It misfired, yeah.
Hamas says it's not us, it's the Israel. But then Western media tends to believe Israel because they believe in organized military. And also remember, Hamas is a declared terrorist institution. Funny, because Al-Shabaab is not a declared terrorist institution. Yet it is. You know,
but again, one common thing with terrorist organizations and institutions, I mean, quote unquote, terrorist organizations and institutions, if anything, if indeed they are terrorist organizations or institutions, right? The whole existence, the whole purpose and reason for the existence is to cause terror, to cause fear, right? So if they bomb somewhere, they would want to take pride in it, like we bombed it, we did it. Why? So that the people would be afraid of them. Right? And there is no one single time that Hamas has done something and come out denying. If anything, I mean, I've been following this war closely from the 7th of October, that morning. And one interesting thing is that Hamas has invested heavily on media in this war. To an extent, even some of the fighters, they have the GoPro cameras. You can clearly see. This is a video like you could literally feel and see and hear at a Hamas fighter going down.
Right? They have realized, that is one of the weapons of war. For example, when they were showing hostages, how they are treating the hostages very well, you know, because they knew that the other weapon, the media, which is being used by the other side, they will create issues of beheaded people and all these kind of things. So the objective is now to counter them. So despite them not having what they call a clear infrastructure in terms of the media, but they're trying, they're trying. Yeah. At least one of the there's a girl whom the media was saying that she was killed. She was being displayed naked. But at the end of the day, Hamas showed her very well. She was very okay. She gave him a simple statement. So they realized this is one of the weapons of war. So they have to use also the same.
Yeah. And it's dangerous. It's not easy for media. It's not easy for even people debunking misinformation. It takes time. Because if you look at the technology that was used in Cameroon, for example, when some women were assassinated or were killed by the military in Cameroon, it took time for even BBC to investigate and use technology to identify where it happened, who did it, and to follow up with the Cameroon regime to hold those people to account. The same thing with this bombing of hospital. It happened also in Syria. Flat was bombed, brought down completely, and they had to be investigated to find out who did this. Technology comes into play, but it's not everybody who can access this expensive technology.
Right. Interesting enough. But again, before we veer off, there's one extremely important thing that Sheikh Abdallah, my brother Abdallah Kassim, mentioned about. He is surprised that African president would come out and support Israel for that matter. Yet, many years ago, maybe we would be in a similar situation. And a vote in Switzerland, 1903, 26th of August, 285 against 195 delegates that were there voted that the Israelites, the Jews at that time, should be settled in Kenya, Western Kenya for that matter. So there's a stretch from Western Kenya extending all the way to some parts in Luo Nyanza, like Victoria and all that, right? So they sent an investigatory committee in 1903 after voting. So they sent an investigatory committee, but I think they found out that the land was not what they were looking for, and they continued looking for other places, and then finally they were settled in Gaza. So the reason also I brought this historical part is that there are Kenyans outside there. When some people come out and declare their support for Palestine, if you read the comment, they're like, this is not a Muslim state, kill them. So they're clearly taking sides based on religious grounds. And they're saying this is not a Muslim state, so let Palestinians be killed, let the Arabs be killed, wipe them, finish them. And I'm just thinking, if the investigatory committee found Kenya to be suitable, then we would be in the position of the Palestinians right now.
Correct.
What would we have expected the world to do?
You see, sometimes I say, break this thing down to a layman's language. Break it to a point that my grandmother can understand at home.
Please.
I have, where I live, we are 64 units or houses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's compound. So we've been living there since 15 years ago to date. We've been living there. So assume that the Sikh community decide that they like that place very much and they want to settle there. And then they take that land with support of some superpower around where we stay. Yeah? So my children or my neighbor's children, when they go to school, they have to sign that they're going out, get permission, to get out of that gate. For 75 years, when my wife wants to go out, she has to report and be given permission. If they say this is not important, you can't go, she won't go. Do you think that my children will not stand up and say enough is enough? Do you think my children will not say that you cannot do this to my dad? He bought this house, they bought this land collectively. We built here, we were born here, we saw our father staying here. This can never continue. Do you think you have a right, or those Sikh have a right to say that my children cannot uprise against them, and if they do, they will call them terrorists? My children will do whatever they can, or my grandchildren will do whatever they can to free themselves. That's what is happening in Israel, in Palestine. Those Palestinians, call them Hamas, call them whatever names you want to call them, but these are youths who are decided enough is enough. They want to free their homeland. And then we fought them for it. And then we give them a beautiful name, terrorist. Mandela was called a terrorist. Actually, he died when his name was still not lifted or not blacklisted as a terrorist. He's been a terrorist to date, even under his grave, according to the Americans, according to the European Union, according to all of those people, yeah, the West. The ANC was a terrorist organization, just like Hamas.
Until today, it's a ruling party in South Africa.
Yes, but because they said, we are tired of apartheid, we want to be free. Nobody is going to deny Israelis to stay in Palestine if they lived with the Palestinians, just like we are living with our brothers, the Indians, you know, whoever is in this country. We are living with them peacefully because we are all human beings. We can share whatever land, whatever space, whatever resources we have. But if you want to tell those people, you have no right over these resources, we are the ones to own it, and we decide what you get and what you don't get. People get tired. If it happens here in Kenya today, even in Nairobi, we'll get tired. That's what is happening.
Interesting. Thanks so much. And it's time to pay our bills. Remember, we were talking about Palestine and Israel. Back here, we have taxes waiting for us. Yeah? We can only pay taxes after we get something, and it's time to pay our bills so that tupate pesa ya kulipa ushuru ili tuweze kujitegemea. When we come back, we want to look at this issue. Again, as you said, Kenyans and many other people blink and pushing the idea that this is a religious war. What do you think? Is this a religious war or a humanity war? This and much more after the break.
I'm not sure whether you want to look at also that.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
News is about facts, and here on the Muslim Insight, we go beyond the headlines.
The Qadis, apart from being judicial officials, they are also critical members of our society.
We look at all the angles of the story as we bring stories that matter to you.
I am totally convinced generations to come will have the office of the Chief Qadi.
Join us on the Muslim Insight as we bring you the weekly news recap.
Enzi za wakati wa kusema ati alisema akasisitiza akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Every Friday from 8 a.m. only on Horizon TV.
Pearls of Wisdom.
Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Whatever I have commanded you, do it, and whatever I have forbidden you, refrain from it."
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for keeping it live, Real Talk. My name is Faisal Kassim, and I'm having amazing, calm, collected, intellectual gentlemen oozing nothing but wisdom and knowledge right here on set. Everything debunking, everything to do with Israel-Palestine war, a conflict that has been ongoing for over 75 years right now. Gazans, people in Gaza are living under the largest open-air prison for the longest time. Finally, they rose to the occasion, as Abdallah narrated clearly and putting it into context. And now, some of them are being called terrorists. Now, You clearly painted the picture well. And Leo, you just, during the break, you added a very important point that, I mean, if in 1903 the investigatory committee would have found Kenya suitable, then right now it would be in Palestinian position now, right? Yeah. And then, like, what would be our cry now to the global West or to the global leaders who are right now in support of Israel? Not mentioning the government's position or the president's position on this matter. He came out in a tweet and saying that he sympathizes with the people of Gaza and he supports them, right? So the question is, does that represent the voices of all Kenyans?
I'm not sure I want to be I'm not sure I want to weigh on this one, but I mean, I can say that based on our investigation is that we've seen a critical number of Kenyans who are really supportive of the Palestine cause, because this is a human rights issue basically, and these are human beings that are being obliterated, that are being, you know, bombed out of this world and out of the land that they also believe they have an equal right, you know, probably even a supreme right over the others too. Yeah. So I mean, the president has a right to take a position, and for me, being a regulator, is the responsibility of the media to report objectively the president's position, and not just that, but also report objectively on the war and get the facts right, and not just the facts what is happening now, but also historically. You know, looking at the significance of the city of Jerusalem and how it is, you know, it is historically shared by both the Palestinians, the Christians, actually not just both the Palestinians, the Christians, and the Jews, and all that. So that is the media to educate Kenyans, is the media to sensitize Kenyans on the war, the history, and going forward, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a possible solution to the, you know, to the issue of Palestine and Israel, two-state solution, one-state solution? What is the position being taken by the superpower? That is America, because it seems to be the one which is guiding and giving the Israel the confidence that it has now to be able to continue what it is doing without, you know, anyone holding them to account. We also saw the Sarkozy, also the president of France, also coming out and saying that now, with bombing of a hospital, now you are going beyond.
You've crossed the red line.
You've crossed the red line. You know, and many other leaders in Europe saying,
Putin included, came out and said that, I mean, Israel has gone way much beyond just defending itself. I mean, this is crossing the red line.
Yeah, and I mean, there are rules to every war. He explained that very clearly, that Israel has broken every other rule in this war. Who are you fighting? You're fighting people you don't even see. What we see is children and women being bombed, and that's what the media shows us. We can't run away from that. Those are facts.
Those are factual. I mean,
so who are you fighting? For me, that's the biggest question. Who is Israel really fighting in Gaza? Who are they bombing in Gaza? It's been under blockade since 2016. So what happened to the blockade? Where are they, you know, getting the weapons that they are said to have from, and where are they based? You know,
very interesting.
Are they just unable to, you know, to identify them, isolate them, and, you know, deal with them?
Yeah. No, they say they know where they are. They're going to bomb them to the last. They say they know where they are, and thus, quote unquote, the IDF came out and said that we know where they are, so they're using women and children as their shield. So we're going to finish them and the children. Wakil, I mean, once again, you've come out clearly pro-Palestinian on this matter through your tweets. We see coming out and shooting down some of these pro-Israelis, including the government. The president came out and tweeted and said that you know, he sympathizes with the people of Israel. You came out again, guns blazing against the president. So the president's opinion did not include you, obviously.
That is a big yes, first of all. But I want to clarify that I'm not a pro-Palestinian, but I'm pro-humanity. When that thing happens now to any other country or any ethnicity in the world, then I will also support the victim, not now the oppressor. So on the issue of the president, you know, first of all, our president, first of all, is just less than 1 year, approximately 1 year in office. And what you have seen he has been doing is what is called cocktail diplomacy. He is in East, he is in the West, he is in the North, he is in the South, you know. Because that is why somebody like that cannot have an objective stand on any issue. Because what I believe is the decision that the president took was very biased, was misinformed, and was discriminative of what he always stands for. He always stands for truth. Okay, he condemned Hamas. Before that, the PS, my senior Singoe, stated that Israel has the right to defend itself. You know, of course, yes. If you are attacked, you have the right to defend yourself. But against who? Against the attacker, against the offender, not any other person. Then the president goes ahead and now condemns Hamas. Right. Then what has he done now after the Hamas attack? What happened? Massacre, genocide. Clear in the eyes of the world. If he ought to not to be biased, then he should have at least also condemned what Israel is doing against innocent civilians, innocent children, innocent infants. Some of them are just what do you call less than 2 months in their. We have seen a lot of things I cannot even explain. If you could have at least condemned Israel, saying that this and this and this, but these people are depending on these people. The moment you hit Israel, you
hit the big boys.
You hit the big boys. Now the big powers. US.
So you cannot bite a hand that feeds you.
You hit Netanyahu, you hit now Biden, the PM, UK, all these kind of people. Yeah. So what is, the moment you don't have what they call a clear stand, a clear foreign policy on any issue, then you will be confused. That is why you have seen how the president was very vocal in terms of climate change. He was even like busting the big boys at that time. Saying you are the highest emitters and all this kind of thing. But at the end, when it comes to this issue, we have a Palestinian ambassador here in Kenya. But because they don't add any value in terms of what you call economic advantage or what you call foreign exchange and all kind of things with Palestine, he cannot support them, despite them being outrightly the victims. So the whole problem is what I said previously: cocktail diplomacy.
Well,
yes.
Interesting. Very harsh against our president. But again, you're just being factual, right?
Yes.
You're just being factual. Now, Sheikh Abdallah, clearly from their responses, you could clearly see where my brother Motisia and my brother Salim, they're saying in their responses, they say that this is not a religious issue. This is a war on humanity. Whatever is happening, it's clearly genocide. That is what's happening in Gaza right now. They're clearing the Gaza people from their houses. They're bombing their homes. They're cleaning them from their houses. They asked them actually to move from the south to the north. 1.1 million of them, right? Objective, probably to clear the whole area. They want to wipe them out totally. What do you think? Is it a religious war or a humanity war from where you stand?
This is clearly a humanity war. These are freedom fighters fighting for their homeland, which we Africans who've been colonized before, who have tested it. At least I didn't witness it, but my grandfather did. My father did. So that history that was passed down to us should make us sensitive enough to know that if somebody is distressed because someone squat on his land or his property, then we have a duty as humankind to defend that position. Look, our president made, like he said, that statement of support to Israel. In my opinion, the president would have waited maybe 2 days to make an opinion like that, because he's the president of the Republic of Kenya. Kenyans believes in what he's saying, But I think the president responded emotionally, because for a long time, when I discuss with friends, sometimes when I see tweet, my brothers, the Christians, for a long time they've been thinking this is a religious war. They've been thinking that this is Christian versus them, the Muslims. Like Mutiso said, if we go to Palestine, sorry about that. My brother Mutisia said very well that in Palestine we have the Palestinian Christians, and I've met some of them, and we have the Muslim the Muslim Palestinians. So that place is not for either Muslims or Christians. It is only that the bigger population of the people living in Palestine are Muslims. But we have Christians there. We have churches there. You've seen them. That's where
even the hospital that was bombed recently was the largest Christian hospital.
Hospital, I think.
Yeah.
So, and Jesus was born there. So this is a home for all of us. It's a home for the Muslims, it's a home for the Christians, it's a home for the Jews. So we need to defend what my brother says, humanity. We need to stand with the people who are colonized. And this bombing, the war now, did not start yesterday. This is like a bigger scale. But Israelis have been systematically destroying the Palestinians, trying to push them out of the land. They literally come home and say, I want this land, I want this house, get out.
Literally, we saw that in Ramallah.
Yeah, Palestinians are pushed out.
2 years ago.
Somebody comes and say, I want your house, I'm taking it. And you have no say. Did our president see that? You want to say that he's not aware that the Israelis are kicking Palestinians out of their farm, stopping them from tilting the land, taking their houses, imprisoning their children. Children as old as 9 are in Israeli jails. Is our president not aware that in Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Israeli soldiers go in there with their boots, beat Palestinians when they are praying, not even doing anything, they are just praying in their mosque. They have not gone to the synagogue, they have not gone to the church, they have gone to the mosque. There are 3 things there. There is a synagogue, there is a mosque, and there is a church. All of us are free to go there and pray. But a Palestinian, when he goes to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the masjid, is beaten, or she's beaten. Is our president not aware? And should that concern him? So I think these are the things that we need to tell Kenyans, that look, kuna kuoneana hapa.
Yes.
Na ni lazima sisi kama wananchi watukufu wa hii nchi tusaidie wale watu kusema ukweli. Ili kila mtu apate haki yake. Muislamu apate haki yake akiwa Muislamu ndani ya Palestine, Muisraeli apate haki yake kama ni Jew hapo ndani, Mkristo apate haki yake. You can imagine somebody tomorrow, maybe the Muslims population will take over Europe. You can imagine if we are taking the Vatican and beating those Christians going to pray in the Vatican. Every day we stop them from praying. Will it be fair? No. We need to ask these questions. Because in 50 years, in 100 years, probably, we don't know, God knows, another religion may take over. Or another community, like the European community took over Europe. Another community may take it. Maybe the Indians. Who knows? Maybe the Chinese, because the population is increasing. Will we be happy if the Chinese now stop the Christians from praying in the Vatican?
No, the Chinese now will be the opposite.
And stopping the Pope from giving the Sunday sermon?
No.
I won't be happy. Like you said, he's not fighting for the Palestinians. He's fighting for values. And those values must be protected.
Yeah, also to add on the president's stand,
yes,
you know, you have seen how it contradicted the AU position, the African Union position. And that means, that shows that how he was very hasty, how he was uninformed, how he was misinformed, how he disinformed us, you know, all those things. So you can see from that angle where now the entire African Union, you know, it's like the EU Parliament. They can have a decision, you know, on certain foreign policy issue.
And the big question is, why is media today overwhelmed by the news of what is going on when the oppression has been there all along? They, you know, people taking over land and pushing others out and all that. How has media been reporting? These are serious questions that we must start asking ourselves.
I mean, biased reporting is something that we are in the media field. We cannot run away from that. There's aspect of biased reporting. I mean, clearly, as they said, you cannot bite 100 feeds, right? I saw today in our local dailies as well, statements that could be easily be misconstrued as pro-Israel statements in our own local dailies, right? So there is some aspects of biased reporting as well, something that you cannot run away from, quite unfortunate. And it's only that it has escalated that to this level, then people have gotten the interest then to start talking about it. But honestly speaking, this is, I think, my 10th interview since I joined Horizon TV on the Palestinian-Israeli war, right? That is why I've been reading about it, and I know some of the most reliable networks or sources of information. But anyway.
I went to school with Palestinians.
Really?
In Germany. I did my master's in Germany, so I was, wow, all these religions, you know, cultures and all of us together.
Just to add something.
Yeah.
You see,
briefly, because you're wrapping up on...
Hamas, because I've seen this when I tweet and people ask me about, tell us about Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram and so and so. Hamas and Al-Shabaab are completely different people.
Totally.
The Al-Shabaab group in Somalia, if you were to say, call somebody a terrorist, I could probably call him a terrorist. Because their actions does not depict a freedom fighter or somebody fighting for something. Because they're just there how to destroy. But Hamas, they have a reason to stand up. They are the underdogs, somebody sitting on you, and you want to stand up. And he's sitting on you, kwa gari yako. So what do you do with this guy? You box him so that he can stop, inflicting pain on you. This is what is happening with those people called Hamas. They have nothing to do with Boko Haram, and we cannot even try to equate them with Boko Haram or ISIS. These are freedom fighters fighting for their land and their rights, the rights of their people, and we need to stand with them.
I hope you are not closing the show because
no.
You have
Number to Maliza, just very quickly, number to Maliza, just as you're giving your closing remarks, and then my brother Leo Zol gives his closing remarks, please.
First of all, when on the issue of who is the terrorist in this situation, when you talk about a terrorist has a clear objective. For example, the Al-Shabaab. The Al-Shabaab, when they're attacking Lamu, they're not attacking to take they can attack a supermarket, somebody in the supermarket, kill children and women, but they don't even take one, maybe soda. What is their objective? What is their primary objective? The objective is to instill fear in people, And when you now go to the issue of Hamas and the Palestine and Israeli issue, it is very clear that Israel is now using the tactics of terrorists. And that means they are the terrorists in this situation. Because if you kill a 3-year-old girl, innocent people in hospitals, seeking refuge in hospitals, yes, that means you are now the terrorist in this situation. You are instilling fear in people so that people can at least fear you, and you to show cause your your power to the world, not even to the Palestinians only, but to the world, to also instill fears to the neighbors, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, all those kinds of things. So then there's this issue of, you talked about the Kenyan media. I watched the James Smart interview with Israeli ambassador and Palestinian ambassador. I watched for less than a minute, but from his 2 questions, I realized that gentleman didn't have any information about this thing. The way my brother here is very, informative about this thing. But when it comes to this guy, he doesn't have any information. When even the media say Israeli-Palestinian war, there's no war. It is just a genocide. It is just, war is when the two of us are fighting, But when I'm fighting you only and you're just sitting, that's not war. That is like, discrimination. That is genocide. You're committing punishment,
Colonization.
So in Kenyan, from a Kenyan context, the media, I'm sorry to say this, but majority of them don't have clear information about the history of the Palestinian-Israeli dispute.
Some of them have information, but I promise you cannot bite 100 feet, unfortunately.
All
these media stations
like my brother here, I'm surprised he knows a lot of things, even more than me. That means he is more informed, maybe from the way he interacted with many people in Germany during his studies. So, but from James Smart,
Leo, closing remarks, please.
And actually, if I was not representing Media Council of Kenya, I'm very passionate about human rights issues, and the Palestine case is a human rights issue. period.
You should make
It's
this social uncensored so that
there's no argument.
It can be free.
There's no argument about that. But for us, Media Council is a challenge to media to remain objective. It started by defining misinformation and disinformation. Disinformation also leads to deliberate attempts to harm people. And this deliberate attempt is that we use propaganda, we use disinformation to justify the wrong cause, to justify extermination, to justify killing and deaths and all those things. It's now the responsibility of the media to pick, white from black and be able to report objectively and tell people this is what is happening. So that then when people are trying to influence policy, they're influencing it from an objective, point of knowledge and all that.
That's very important.
And I like the idea that probably we need to educate media. We need to educate media personalities, for this matter, on what is happening in Palestine, in what is happening in Gaza, in what is happening, with the Israel and the creation of the states and all those things, so that then they are, they're able to impact properly.
Somebody followed me today and asked me, when are we organizing a protest? And I told him, I don't think a protest, personally speaking, if you ask me, I don't think a protest is necessary. Why can't you have podcasts? Why can't you have debates? Why can't you have sessions where we are debunking information? Why can't you have those?
Chairman, by the way, I'm the chairman of Association of Muslim Lawyers. Yes. I have been approached by many people that we do a peaceful procession to the office of the president, office of the office of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Parliament, so that we can deliver a memorandum regarding what do you call it, political ties, economic ties with Israel. We should cut that. We know they cannot, it will not be fruitful, but the objective is now, because the procession will now be led by not the Muslim lawyers now, but everyone who believes in humanity. Justice. Yes, and justice.
I mean, again, I'll just give you the same challenge. Can we have sessions where we can debunk this information and just give the counter narrative, the other side of the story? I think that way will be way much more impactful. I know. In my opinion.
True. You're right. You're right.
I agree with what you're saying also. When you do a protest, march, it has a timeline. And then how many people are going to hear the outcomes of that memorandum you will be presenting? How many people know the content? But you have a debate like this, millions of people will be listening. Like now they are listening, our viewers are listening, and they are getting to know exactly what is this you are talking about. So both ways it is important. The protest is very important, we can do it, but also having this kind of continuous talk, a discussion, where the minds come around to share and debate about these issues.
Have the conversation, contextualize it.
Look, even in this country, the media have made other communities in this country feel lesser than the other. It is the media. When we, for example, say the Luos are not having any value except throwing stone, that is disinformation. I mean, we're making all our community look stone throwers. So we do these things. The media does it, sometimes deliberately, under the influence of big boy with the money, to make the other community look lesser. So I think we need to talk more, let people understand the real issues. If we are talking about the Palestinian conflict, like you said, this is not a war. The Palestinian attack, I would call it a Palestinian
genocide right now. But
a big thing, the big thing for me would be getting champions who can champion facts, online, offline, everywhere.
Information.
No, and factual information, not just information.
That's the rally call.
Yes.
Read. Yes. That's the rally call. Hakuna kitu kingine tunasema hapa, just read, get information, read, research, watch, listen, and very important, need to be careful. Who are you listening to? Who are you watching? What are you reading? Right? It's important, counter read, fact check, whatever facts you get. There is one particular international journalist that I always love her analysis of the geopolitics. But on this matter, I've axed her. No. Because honestly speaking, she's not reporting objectively, at least because I have other sources of information. And I'm telling you this because sometimes that person that you always trust, sometimes that person that you always believe will always be factual and tell you the truth. He's also human, or she is also human. Interest may crop in. He may be pushed in or she may be pushed in a different direction, and objectivity is lost in the process. So one very important thing with this genocide that is currently happening in Gaza and the whole Israel-Palestinian issue is research, information. Read, read, read. My name is Faisal Kassim, and this has been the Live Real Talk. See you next week, same place, same time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
I was to be a junior